Rain falls hard over the Yalu River. A young man crouches in the dark on the Chinese side, watching soldiers who could end his life with one shout. He has already escaped North Korea once. He has already built a new life in Seoul. Tonight, he is about to throw all of it away on purpose to cross back into the one country he swore he would never see again. He is not being forced. He is not lost. He is choosing this. Somewhere behind that riverbank, in a small border town, his mother does not know he is coming. For 2 days, he studies the guards. He watches when they eat, when they smoke, when they turn their backs. He memorizes the gap in their patrol. He knows that if he is caught, there will be no trial worth hoping for. A returning defector is treated as a traitor, and a traitor's family pays with him. His name is Kim Kang-woo. 3 years earlier, he was just another young man in a poor border town, farming and laboring for a government that gave him almost nothing back. He had graduated at the top of his class, but college was never going to happen. That door was reserved for people born into a higher class, and he was not one of them. He had started to dream of something else. Late at night, smuggled South Korean dramas flickered on hidden screens across the north, and Kim watched one about an orphan who claws his way into a better life in Seoul. It planted something in him that would not go away. At 20, he told his mother he was leaving. She did not scream. She did not beg him to stay. She handed him a boiled egg, the only thing she had to give, and he pressed it back into her hands and walked out into the night. She could not even watch him go. Neighbors were always watching, always listening, and one wrong glance out a window could be reported. So she cried alone for nights afterward, certain she would never see her only child again. His own father had died attempting the same crossing years before. The journey out of North Korea is never a straight line. Kim crossed the Yalu River in pouring rain in May of 2016, then vanished into the underground network that carries defectors through China, through Laos, through Thailand, a 5-month gauntlet designed to avoid a heavily militarized inter-Korean border that no one can simply walk across. 11 months after he disappeared from her doorstep, his mother finally got word. He was alive. He built a life fast, because he had to. Construction sites, a mattress store, a cell phone shop. Every job he could hold down at once. And every night, walking home exhausted, his mind returned to the same person. His mother, still trapped behind a border he had barely survived crossing. By 2019, he had saved enough and found a broker he trusted enough to risk everything on. This was the plan all along, not to forget her, but to bring her out. He flew to China that May, confident, prepared, certain this time would work. He could not reach her. Along the border, North Koreans rely on smuggled Chinese phones that catch a signal only in certain places, at certain hours, if they are lucky enough to own one at all. When his mother finally borrowed a phone long enough to call him, she sounded terrified. She had no phone of her own. She was not confident she could find her way to the meeting point on the Chinese side. Maybe, she said, they should wait and try again another time. Then the line went dead. The plan he had spent years building collapsed in a single dropped call. Kim was out of time. His visa was about to expire. His money was almost gone. He stood on the Chinese side of a river that separated him from his mother, and made a decision no one advises, no one recommends, and almost no defector ever survives making twice. He would go back in. He knew exactly what it meant. If North Korean guards caught him re-entering after defecting, execution was not a rumor, it was policy. His family could be sent to a prison camp simply for being related to him. He was terrified. He said later that fear nearly stopped him at the water's edge, but the thought of never seeing his mother again pushed him forward anyway. So he watched the guards for 2 days. He learned their rhythm, and on the second night, as they stepped away for dinner, he slipped into the water and crossed back into the country he had risked his life to leave. He was not the same person who had left 3 years earlier. His ears were pierced, his hair was dyed, his accent had softened into something closer to Seoul than to his hometown, and South Korean slang slipped out of him without warning. He did not blend in the way he had hoped. Every step toward his mother's house was a gamble that someone would notice. He knocked on her door. She opened it and stood frozen. For a moment, neither of them said anything. Then they were holding each other, crying, and almost immediately her joy curdled into panic. Her son had just handed his own life to the state that had already taken her husband's freedom of movement and her own sense of safety. If he was found in that house, there would be no mercy for either of them. They had 22 days. Kim worked frantically to line up brokers on both sides of the border, trying to get himself and his mother across together. It was harder than he expected. Every broker he contacted found the story almost impossible to believe. Defectors do not go back. The ones who try rarely get a second chance to leave. While Kim was away from the house, state security agents raided it and took his mother in for questioning. They beat her, trying to force a confession that her defector son had returned. She denied it, over and over, giving nothing away, even as the interrogation continued. A friend warned Kim he had to go, immediately, for his family's sake as much as his own. The day after his mother was detained, according to South Korean court records, he crossed the Yalu River a second time, alone, leaving her behind in the hands of the people who had just tried to break her. He landed in Seoul, certain of only one thing: he had failed. Then his phone rang. It was South Korean intelligence. They already knew everything. His cell phone records had traced his entire movement in and out of the north, and now he faced a different kind of danger. Weeks of interrogation while investigators tried to determine if he was exactly what he appeared to be, or something far more dangerous. Re-entering North Korea without government approval is a crime in South Korea too. Kim faced up to 3 years in prison, but the judge who reviewed his case saw genuine remorse and no history of prior offenses, and reduced the sentence to 6 months, followed by 2 years of probation. While he waited to learn his fate, a call came through from a broker on the ground. His mother was out. She had made it through China. Kim demanded proof, a photo, her voice on the line, anything, before he would let himself believe it. When he finally heard her speak, something in him broke open with relief. He arranged for contacts to guide her the rest of the way, through China, through Laos, through Thailand, retracing almost the exact path he had taken years before. She did not know, at first, that her son was in prison. She only knew she could not reach him. His friends eventually told her the truth, and it hit her harder than the interrogation ever had. Her son, who had only ever wanted a college education, was locked away because of the risk he took to save her. She wrote him letters every week while he served his sentence, small, ordinary details of a new life she was building without him. A driving test she passed, a subway ride where a stranger's face reminded her of his. She counted down the days until his release, imagining he was living in conditions like the ones she remembered from home, and worrying constantly about his health. On the night of his release, she waited outside the prison gates until midnight. When he finally walked out, more than 4 years after he first vanished from her doorstep in the rain, she barely recognized how thin and worn he looked. He, for his part, insisted he had actually gained weight in prison, sitting still for months after years of manual labor. It was a small joke between two people who had survived something almost no family survives intact. Today they live 40 minutes apart in Seoul. She keeps a garden on her balcony, astonished that her plants no longer die every winter now that she has real heating, something she never had back home. He drives over often, still paying off the car he bought as a symbol of the life he built. On her refrigerator hangs a letter from him, thanking her for raising him with love and asking her to stay healthy so they can keep living happily together on the other side of everything that tried to keep them apart. He still will not go hiking in the mountains with friends. The woods remind him of the 2 days he spent watching soldiers, deciding whether to risk his life to see his mother one more time. He did, and somehow twice he made it back.